Welcome to Florida Mint on Florida Man with Greg, Wayne, Josh, and Cameron.
Hi.
The podcast where Floridians discuss the crazy but true stories that always seem to take place in Florida. Back in the early episodes, there was a time where we actually struggled with that intro.
Oh, yeah. So
Well,
we
I
just
mean,
left it
I
up
only
to
have-
you.
I only have one word and I still forget sometimes.
I remember printing it out and still getting it wrong. And then Cameron being like, you got one more chance.
Well, we crumpled that up and we go do it from memory.
Memorize it. I know.
Whiplash. We did Whiplash style.
Yeah, you did. And now
Too
I've got
fast, right?
Yeah.
Now I've got it. I'm hooked on that intro. But I'm not hooked on headlines yet.
Mm-mm, not yet.
And I'm looking at Cameron very longingly.
Why is he wearing only chaps?
Keep looking, baby.
I'm ready. Hook me.
Okay, so we got a lot of headlines in this week.
We did.
Perfect.
We had Hurricane Dorian last week. Well, we really didn't get it as
No.
Florida, but there was a lot of Florida man stories that came out because of the hurricane.
Mhm.
yeah, so it got close enough to make us buy everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I spent a lot of
so-
money, which,
yeah.
we really have no complaints.
Now, I looked in your fridge. It doesn't look like you bought anything, actually.
No, but all the hurricane snacks are gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been 7 days of just pure snacks.
When you get off work for the hurricane, there's nothing to do but sit around and eat
No,
snacks.
that's it.
Mm-mm.
That's all you can do. So the first Florida man story that we have
Okay.
came to us from,
Lisa from Clearwater sent this in.
Okay.
I
didn't know
forgot
we
the
were-
name, Lisa.
we were
I'm so
tag
sorry. So I
teaming
had to point at Wayne to say
Point
it.
at me
okay.
for something.
Wayne remembers everything.
All right, Josh, here's your cue.
Lisa from Jupiter, Florida.
Okay, close enough. All right, so Florida man buys over 100 generators to send to the Bahamas.
Come on. That's awesome.
Nice.
Okay,
So cool.
Cash
So-
for clunkers deal or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
they were all brand new. This man named Alec was in a Costco, and he was just buying one generator.
Sure.
Mm.
But he saw another guy who was there at this Costco in Jacksonville purchasing over 100 generators,
What?
which they're about $450 a piece,
Wow.
plus food. And he was just sending them all to the Bahamas, which is awesome.
That's so cool.
Don't put those in your house.
Super awesome. Yeah, keep them outside.
What's crazy for those who don't know, the Bahamas were just hit really hard by Hurricane Dorian and the entire island's without power. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah. If
crazy.
you look at
It's really bad.
a map of the coastline where it was and where it is now,
It's super sad.
the island's smaller.
Yeah.
It's underwater.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, as of right now, tonight, when we're recording, we really don't know what is going to happen to the Carolinas. Dorian's still out there.
Right, sure.
It's
I feel
just
like
a
once
piece of
Dorian's
work.
past us, I was oblivious to the storm.
Yeah.
Before when it was 2 days away. And
I
was
call
like, what?
I call
There's a
Josh.
hurricane?
I'm like, you ready for the hurricane? He's like, what hurricane?
Josh was just out getting his regular everyday snacks,
That's
but he
right.
couldn't find them because everybody else is bought them for
Everybody's
the
like,
hurricane.
oh, he's stocking up for the hurricane. I'm like, sure. Whatever you call it.
Yeah.
All right, so our next headline has to do with the hurricane as well.
Okay.
Perfect.
A Florida man was really worried about his car.
Mhm.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
He didn't have a garage for his vehicle to go into. So he was worried about the hurricane and what it would do to his car. He had a smart car.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what he said was he was worried about the smart car blowing away.
Because they're tiny.
They are like golf cart size.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Blow
They
it
are
cars.
very,
away,
very
though.
small. So what he did was he parked it in his dining room.
Okay.
Okay.
He brought the smart car inside, which
Don't turn
I mean,
it.
it's not-
I guess you can turn it on, can't you?
Well, yeah, because it's electric.
I get it.
I don't think they're electric.
Oh.
the smart's
well,
not?
they're
I don't think so.
Not
Not
very
fully.
smart then.
Uh-oh.
No.
Hopefully he knows.
I don't really know.
Somebody call him.
Rip.
But it's so small, you're able to fit it through a sliding glass door.
Yeah, he just brought it inside, parked it in the dining room.
I saw the picture, and a lot of people sent that one in. Like a
It looks
ton
super
of
cute.
people. Yeah, but it's funny to me that this guy just posted it on Facebook and then it took off, and
Yeah.
now he's famous for having a car in his kitchen.
That's what Florida man is.
That's
And
what
now
a
he
Florida
can-
man is, baby.
He
Regular
can sell
Florida
his
man.
house and say, I got a garage.
Yeah,
That's it. He does.
he added on to the house. Okay, so for our last headline,
No.
Chris Jericho
Okay.
recently won.
Wait, who's that?
He's a wrestler. Do you guys watch wrestling?
No. I watch Friday Night Sissy Fights.
Oh, yeah. That's a good show.
Does that count?
No, I don't think so. In this
Okay.
Is
case.
Jericho on there?
I don't think so.
I definitely don't follow wrestling, but if you do,
Oh, okay.
you might.
Don't say it like that.
Well, I have
definitely don't.
I have my own opinions about it, but
He hates violence.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It's entertaining.
Chris Jericho recently won the AEW World Champion.
He did.
I think it's
Championship.
A&W.
Yes.
And
A&W Root Beer World Championship.
Right.
he got his belt.
Okay.
He was in Tallahassee, Florida,
Uh-huh.
eating at a Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
as you do, you go get it. You win a national or a
Yep.
world
And
championship.
it's porterhouse time.
You got to go get a steak at Longhorn.
You take the belt with you everywhere
Yeah.
you go.
Well, I think Longhorn says we give you a steak for free if you win that
if you
A&W.
yeah. If you're wearing a belt, you get a steak.
Yeah. Exactly.
Suspenders, no steak.
So he took the belt with him, but he didn't bring it inside. It was actually in his limo,
Okay.
parked outside. He was
Okay.
inside enjoying a nice steak. Well, while he was
Uh-huh.
in Longhorn, somebody actually stole his belt, his world championship
Out of the limo?
belt, out
is
of the
it
limo.
Is it the competitor wrestler?
Oh, I bet it was.
bet it
Oh,
was.
The
the runner-up?
challenger.
The
Yeah,
challenger?
the challenger took it.
The fight's not over. And then he starts beating up the limo like Double Dragon.
That's amazing.
The limo, apparently the limo driver had to take the limo back to the airport to get something that they left some luggage, and somewhere between Longhorn and the airport,
That limo driver.
that I have
Yeah.
a feeling it was the limo driver.
He turns around and it's Hulkamaniac. It's Hulk.
So what's the rules? If you lose your belt, you're not champion anymore,
No,
right?
you're done.
It's
And
like
then
lo-
you have to pay for the steak.
it's like
Yeah.
losing your shoe in a fight.
Yeah,
you lose the
fight's
belt,
over.
you're not champion.
Yeah, and you have to pay for the steak. Like
That's
Josh
why they
said.
wear those tall lace-up boots in wrestling.
So they don't lose their shoes.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It's all coming together.
Now we know. I feel super hooked on those, man.
Man, those are pretty good.
And Longhorns, they've got the best steak. They're better
Yeah.
than Outback. If you're looking
Oh.
for a steak this Friday
Whoa,
night,
okay.
Wow.
go down to Longhorns. Tell them Florida Man on Florida Man sent you.
Yep, it's comped, baby.
Welcome home, champ.
Okay, fellers.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
I got a couple very good letters, very entertaining letters.
Okay.
I'm going to read the first one because it's closest to my heart.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This person, his name is Sal.
Okay. Hey, Sal.
Hey, Sal.
He said, "Hey guys, what's your favorite bird?"
Our favorite bird?
Flying
Yeah.
bird?
All right, Sal. That's a nice
He
question.
He didn't specify. He just said BIRD.
I know right off the top of my head.
What's your favorite bird, Cameron?
Don't. Should we all say ours at the same time
Okay.
so we can't accuse each other of
Of
copying?
stealing. All right.
Okay. Sure. On three.
On three, we say our favorite birds.
Okay.
1, 2,
Kookaburra.
3.
Pelican.
Hot pink flamingo. Because the normal.
That was right together,
Oh,
guys.
spot on.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
It sounded like we practiced that.
Yours is hot pink flamingo, Josh. Not
Because he's kind of attitudey. He has
Yeah,
a chain wallet.
Oh,
That's true.
okay.
That's true. He's a troublemaker.
Sassy.
All right. I like that. Okay.
Pelicans, they've got those necks though. I mean, they just
I think all
And
birds
they can-
have necks.
they can fit. Not one that can fit like 14 fish in it though.
That's true. He's got a point.
I saw it in Guinness. It had 2 basketballs. I think in their gullet, they call it.
Yeah. Slide him right down
This
the
guy,
gullet.
he really knows his birds.
I made that up.
He knows
I
his
don't know
bird
what it's called.
science. So Sal wanted to know what our favorite bird is.
Uh-huh. And then he says, "Cool. Hope you answer that on the air.
Okay.
Now, what's your favorite boat?" BOAT.
our favorite boat?
It's like a boat that floats.
Row.
I like blue ones.
Tug.
Cool.
Yeah, done.
All
Sal,
right.
Thanks, Sal.
I gotta say, man,
Yeah.
honest to God,
I
we
feel
get-
like he's writing a book report or something.
we get a lot of letters, but that's gotta be one of my favorite
Yeah.
ones.
He said, contacted some celebrities, found out their favorite bird and boat.
Yeah, come on, let's go. Well,
You're
I
welcome,
hope you're
Sal.
happy with our answers, man.
It says Sal's in 5th grade.
Okay.
Oh.
well, okay.
I don't know why he wrote that in first person. That's weird.
Was that why it was in crayon?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, good luck with middle school, bud.
Okay, this next one
Okay,
comes from an all-star you all know.
let's go.
His name is Brian.
Okay, day one, Brian.
Day one, Brian.
Day one,
Nice.
Brian. What's up, man?
We hit the record button,
Uh-huh.
and then he tweeted us and
He
said,
was looking in the window.
"You guys starting a podcast?"
I love it.
And he wrote a very creative letter.
Okay.
You know how we always argue about who's tough, who's got the bigger pecs,
Right.
Yeah.
Wayne.
who can make their pecs bounce.
Wayne.
Mhm.
So he says, I often imagine who would win if 3 of you were in a no-hold-barred wrestling match.
Okay.
And we've already been through this.
Yeah, we know.
Well, you brought weapons. That doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
Starblade specifically.
Right.
I always have weapons.
He said, so even though you 3 are lovers, I mean, not like
Right.
exclusive.
No.
It's an open relationship.
I'm saying not exclusive. He said we're lovers,
right.
not fighters. Here is how he imagines it would go down. Ding, ding. Cameron would try to get the upper hand because he is young and eager.
Yes, I am.
But because he buys his shoes the wrong size,
Hey,
he is
Amen.
constantly tripping and falling down.
my shoe fits.
Nailed it
Oh,
right there.
that's it, Cinderella. We got him.
During this time, Josh is thinking about the latest movie he watched, The Karate Kid.
Yep.
The original, not that new piece of crap that Cameron probably thinks is amazing.
The one with Will Smith's son?
Oh, yeah. Jaden.
And he is poised to do the crane kick. But then Wayne realizes
Mm-hmm.
that it's the dumbest off-balance kick. And Wayne slides a chair into the ring
Yes.
and hits him in the back of the head.
Yes.
Whoa.
Come
cheat.
on.
Dirty cheat.
No.
And then he has a gif and he says, Wayne, the dirty wrestler, wins.
Come on. Thank you, Brian.
This is so wrong.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Brian.
It's just so wrong.
Who can pop
Okay.
them pecs? Me. Who can win in a fight? Me.
Sorry,
Who's
Brian.
a dirty
you're-
rat? You.
I love this episode.
Brian, you're now blocked from
Yeah.
listening. So
Brian, I'm going to unblock you when the guys go to bed.
I've got
But he
admin
does have a
access.
point. The crane kick.
Your shoe sizes.
It makes zero sense.
It's a bad kick.
It just is so dumb.
People
But if
have
you're
always
injured,
Well, he was injured in that
Yes.
film. I forgot about that.
he stubbed his toe.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
true.
He had a
that
hangnail.
changes everything.
You're
You
right.
got a hangnail. You don't want to
But the
slice it
thing
across
is,
someone's face.
okay, he stubbed his toe, but for like weeks he practiced it on the little pole.
That is true. That is true. He was planning on using
in
the crane kick.
preparation of.
And I've always said, if you
of
stub,
stubbing his toe.
if you stub your toe, you got 4 more.
yeah,
What's your problem?
that's true.
Well,
You know
think
what I
if-
mean?
If you know you're going to fight a
Four
preppy
between
blonde boy,
both feet.
4 more toes.
I've got turtle feet. I've only got like
We know.
I've got like 2 clothed
yeah,
We call 'em
monstrosities.
hooves. We
Yeah,
call
yeah.
Big monster hooves.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for that letter. Sal, thank you for your letter, my man.
Wow,
Favorite
Sal.
bird, favorite boat. We dig it. And I feel broken. I feel hooked. And I feel blessed. I want to bless you guys with a story if you got a minute.
Oh, yeah. I got a minute.
Andrew William Barber was born September 9th, 1849 in Tallahassee, Florida.
Easy.
1849. Go for it, bud.
157.
He would be
What?
157 years old. if he was
Plus or
still
minus 30.
alive. Yeah. Andrew was one of 7 siblings. His mother, Susan, was a school teacher, and his father, Anthony, served in the United States Navy where he was a shipbuilder.
Well, I think if you
That's
got
all
7
American
kids,
family there.
Yeah.
you're definitely a school teacher.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Your family is the school.
Bingo.
Yeah. Bingo.
But this meant his father was almost always gone. So it left his mother, Susan, with the task of running the schoolhouse, but also raising 7 children.
Guilty.
Mhm. Yep.
You're right. So as it was with most large families, usually the oldest child will help kind of corral the younger ones. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
Dugers. I saw the Dugers.
right. Exactly like the Dugers, actually.
Dugers?
Yeah. Well, Andrew was the youngest of the Barber clan.
Jackpot.
So that meant that after a certain point, he basically had no supervision.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah. You know how you have your first kid, you're extra careful. Then second kid's basically eating off
You're
the
like,
floor.
Yeah. Survive
Yeah,
if
it's
you
just-
can.
Third kid, fourth kid, no one talks to him. It gets worse from there. So this left Andrew with plenty of time to kind of explore and learn the lay of the land.
Love
He
it.
had free reign just to do whatever he wanted to. He was very, very street smart, lots of common sense.
Yep.
But despite not having any supervision, Andrew actually stayed out of trouble. He's a good kid.
Okay. You couldn't grift him. He
No.
was sweet streets.
Not this guy. He loved discovering new places. He would kind of hide out and build forts, just doing very stereotypical boy things.
That sounds like my dream.
I know. And it kind of seems like a trend, I think, with quite a few of our stories, like Florida men who were born in Florida in the 1800s. They just spend all day roaming the woods and
They have
doing,
nothing else to do.
Yeah, they're just
there's
doing, like,
literally nothing else.
Yeah,
just
you
doing
could turn
adventures.
that hobby into a career and be a barefoot mailman.
Exactly. We'll see what this guy does.
Uh-oh.
But in 1860, when Andrew was 11 years old, he overheard a story that he wasn't supposed to hear.
Mm.
Uh-oh.
Some gossip.
Hold on, Cameron. What is it?
What is it?
He heard that story about Wayne
No,
losing the wrestling match.
To Chris Jericho.
Different story. Their neighbor, an older widowed lady by the name of Miss Crawford, was visiting one afternoon and speaking very quietly to Andrew's mother.
That's how you know. That's when you perk up your ears.
Yeah, the secret's being told.
Mm-hmm.
So Andrew, being a normal 11-year-old, he hears people whispering. He's like, I'm going to eavesdrop on this conversation.
That's right.
Yeah, if they would have just talked at like normal volume, he would have tuned them out.
Oblivious.
He'd be playing, doing different stuff.
Amen. That's how the CIA does it. They just tell secrets
In
out
plain,
loud.
Right.
in plain sight.
So Miss Crawford, she says that every night for the past few weeks, she's woken up in the middle of her sleep by what sounds like an animal howling for hours on end.
Amen, baby.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Busy house, huh? 7 kids.
Yep.
Well, this is Miss Crawford, the neighbor.
Yeah, I know. They're going for 8 kids.
Right. So this isn't terribly strange because it's kind of ancient Florida when most people are used to wildlife and so on and so forth.
Stuff like that.
But Miss Crawford says this is an animal sound she's never heard before.
Oh, God.
So what's also strange to her is after the first night that she heard it, is she said it howled for nearly an hour until finally she hears a really, really loud commotion and then silence.
Your mama cares about your education.
So she assumed that because it was such a loud bang that someone basically killed this creature.
Yeah.
But there were 2 issues with this theory because one, she lived pretty far away from everyone else. Like this is kind of in the day and time where your nearest neighbor was like 2 or 3 miles away.
Nice.
Right.
And you don't use bangers to kill animals back then.
Right. Yeah. It's lots of open land. But then also too, why would somebody who lives so far away, like, go out of their way to stop a noise they probably couldn't hear from like their own property?
I got you.
Right. Like in the middle of the night.
Okay.
It doesn't really make any sense. But she thought that maybe someone killed this creature, but it kept happening after that first night.
Oof.
So whatever's going on is still going on. So it howls for hours on end, a loud bang, and then silence.
This is weird.
But it's enough to bother her to come speak to Andrew's mother about it and try to figure out what's going
Whatever
on.
the animal is, it's just trying to clear his throat. The bang is him coughing, clearing his throat, and then he goes about his business.
He goes,
Poor guy.
So this poor lady's terrified at this point, and Andrew's mother doesn't really have any advice. Like, what's she going to tell her? Like, what? I'm sorry that you're terrified. Like,
Put earplugs in, bro.
right. So Andrew, he's overheard this whole conversation, and he decides
he's interested.
He's like, I'm going to help. I'm going to take care of this.
Exciting.
So 11-year-old Andrew, he waits for his entire family to go to sleep, and he sneaks out of the house, and he begins the long trek to Miss Crawford's property.
Hello.
So this is about an hour's walk in the middle of the night, mostly through the woods.
Yep.
And so it's pretty windy, and everything's kind of moving and making noise. But as he gets closer to the house, he can hear it.
This is weird.
And so he says that he was scared, but he knew that if he didn't solve the problem, poor Miss Crawford would continue to suffer.
I wouldn't do that. As
He's
a grown
been
man.
hired by nobody to solve this
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
I wouldn't hike an hour in the pitch dark to find some weird animal.
No,
as
I
a
don't
grown
check my
man,
mail at night.
much less an 11-year-old.
Same.
Same.
So this kid, he walks up to the property. He makes his way to the front porch of Miss Crawford's house.
Jeez.
And the noise
Gotta
was
get shot.
definitely louder, but he could tell that it was coming from around back of the property.
Oof.
And so
Scary.
when he rounded the side of the house,
Nope.
he could see where an old barn was, and it probably hadn't been used for a while. So Andrew kind of realized, without a shadow of a doubt, like that's where the noise is coming from.
Yeah,
That's
that's
where the
when
howling
you
is coming
leave.
Right.
You just leave.
Or you stake it out.
Send a letter.
Till morning.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
in the barn.
from. Right, exactly.
Send a letter the next day.
Yeah, because only bad stuff happens in a barn at night, like I always say.
So as he gets closer, he also kind of realizes that it wasn't an animal. Like, this kid's kind of street smart. He's like, this isn't any kind
We
of
knew
animal.
that.
He heard animals before. And he's
Right.
like, this ain't no animal.
But
This
as he
is Chris
walked in,
Jericho.
as he walked into the lower portion of the barn door slammed behind him,
Goodness, this is a brave 11-year-old.
and immediately the noise stops.
Oh,
And so that's when he realized that the howling wasn't anything sinister at all.
What horror movie are you telling us?
The door had been worn down by the wind, and when it was blown open, it would sit in such a way that when the wind blew through it, it made this awful loud noise.
oh, come on.
But when-
Okay,
but
I don't
when-
like Mother Nature.
But when the
Trust.
wind would die down, it would slam really loudly shut, and the noise would stop.
Man, Miss Crawford's so dumb.
I know. So the mystery is solved, right? So Andrew tells his mother, who strangely enough doesn't get onto him for sneaking out at night and walking miles and miles
Or
away.
eavesdropping.
You know she
Right.
don't want to be
Exactly.
watching that kid.
So his mother tells Miss Crawford, who then proceeds to tell everyone about this brave little kid who, solved this problem for her.
I thought she was going to say, this kid made up this stupid lie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He don't know what he's talking about.
So now keep in mind, as spooky as this was, it's just a barn door and Andrew's just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason or another, everyone in town began believing that Andrew was this like investigative mystery solver.
Okay.
Like that was his reputation from that point forward. And I'm sure some people were just kind of humoring the kid, but nevertheless, people began asking Andrew to solve all sorts of problems. And the thing is, he was really good at it.
Who stole my pie off my windowsill?
I'll find out. I'll sniff it out for you. So most of the mysteries were paranormal claims that really that had really obvious explanations. Like if you're brave enough just to kind of go in and face it head on, right? Kind of like the barn door. It was just one of those things.
Where's the sun come from?
The east.
Nice.
So, for example, there was an issue at the church in town. Supposedly, a statue of the Virgin Mary was crying. When in fact, after Andrew investigated, it was a window that wasn't sealed properly and water was getting in.
Oh.
And
But he busted that statue up to find out.
Right. So that's kind of one of those things where people, these rumors are spreading around town. Like, oh, did you know the statue of the Virgin Mary is crying?
Yep.
And so once again, they call Andrew up. He's like, I'll figure this out.
Sounds like people were just dumb back there.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. They were definitely dumb back then.
Come on.
He goes in, starts investigating, and they're all like very practical solutions. There was other cases where farmers claimed to have discovered gold on their land. But when Andrew went out there, it was actually iron pyrite.
That's fool's gold.
Which is known as fool's gold.
What? Nice.
It is, yeah. Again,
I'm
there's
smarter.
a situation where miners they claimed to have discovered diamonds. Andrew was called out to verify, and he says, no, you're looking at calcified limestone and quartz.
Jeez. Okay.
This guy.
We found the guy with the encyclopedia set.
Okay, Sherlock.
Right, yeah. So
Got
that's
him.
basically what this guy was doing. He was a Sherlock Holmes. He was just solving all these problems. And so
Nice.
this went on from the age of 11 with the barn door all the way through his 30s.
Jeez.
Like this is what this guy did for a living now.
I like when you're a kid and you have a hobby. In those years, you just turn it into a career.
Right.
Yeah, how many calls is this guy getting?
Well, it started off in his hometown in Tallahassee, but then it spread to like all of northern Florida, where it was just like, hey, if something's going on, something goes bump in the night, or someone's causing some BS, like fool's gold or whatever,
Sniff it out.
or a statue crying,
You
they
think
call
it's-
Andrew up.
You think
comes
it's
and
hard to
fixes it.
get for us to get new listeners? Just think how hard it is for him to get a new customer. No internet.
Yeah.
He's counting on the newspaper to write a story.
Exactly, which just shows you how powerful the word of mouth was back then.
Oh yeah.
But he literally built a career out of this. And so Andrew's life wasn't defined by the mysteries that he solved, but it was defined by the one mystery that he couldn't solve.
Oh goodness.
Uh-oh.
That's fear.
In the summer of 1886, Andrew Barber received a letter from the governing body of a county south of him called Wakula.
Nice.
Cooler.
They claimed to have seen a column of smoke in the distance rising out of the depths of the swamp, but the swamp was too deep for anyone to investigate.
Okay.
Some people thought it was paranormal, others had practical explanations, but either way, they wanted Andrew to come and discover the truth.
Okay. What's it? Lost? The smoke monster. It's probably the smoke
right.
monster from Lost.
So Andrew was like, put up or shut up, baby. Show me that money.
Yep. Show me
nice.
that smoke column.
And he packed his things. He heads south to Wakula County, Florida. And when he arrived, he was given a room at the inn and invited to dinner to meet the representatives and learn more about this mysterious like swamp smoke situation. That evening, the locals presented over 100 years of documents
Jeez.
that reference the
Of
smoke,
smoke?
coming from the swamp.
Jeez.
And nobody. What are those things that you put on your feet and you stand on? Stilts.
Stilts.
Nobody had invented stilts to walk out
Well,
there and check it out.
we're
Or
talking-
a boat.
Oh yeah, boat. That'd
So-
be the easier one.
So there were seminal Indian writings dated from the previous century discussing the never-ending column of smoke that haunted the tribe from deep within the land.
Oof.
The Seminoles believed it was a great evil. They described the smoke turning dark black when things were going wrong and turning a pale blue white when everything was okay.
Okay, so the Everglades elected a new pope. I think that's
Right, exactly. In fact, the county name of Wakula actually means mysterious mist. So the entire area was named after this column of smoke coming up from the swamp. The issue is that the swamp is an area within Wakula called the Wakissa Swamp. It's 14 miles wide and 12 miles deep. It's uninhabited, incredibly thick wild marshland.
Sounds
so
you
you
have to
beautiful.
tell us. We knew that.
Yeah.
So you can't just walk out there. I mean, it's really deep. So it's not like anybody can just kind of go see what's going on.
Nope.
Some portions of the water are 10 feet deep. Other parts have quicksand. There's alligators, poison plants, to the whole 9 yards. It's a crazy jungle.
Paradise.
It's that Legend of the Hidden Temple.
That's exactly where it is. So people, especially like primitive people, they weren't keen on trekking back there to see what was going on.
You mean they weren't keen on dying?
Right, exactly.
Or approaching the evil monster.
Yeah.
Well, there were even documents from sailors who had seen the smoke from the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
Over 20 miles away. The sailors claimed that the smoke at nighttime was accompanied by a glowing light and appeared to even have flames shooting up into the sky.
Goodness.
So this matched the description that a lot of the locals in 1886 had, where they said they would, at nighttime they would see the smoke with light and flames as well.
We bragged about our intellect earlier,
Yeah.
so we can probably solve this with science
Oh, yeah.
and our brains. What is it, Cam?
Somebody was experimenting with fireworks.
I think it's pretty spot on. But there were also locals in 1886 that believed that it could be like a camp of like runaway slaves or Confederate deserters.
Gypsies.
Experimenting with fireworks.
Right.
Yep, like we said.
The issue with that theory is that you can't even get back there, much less live off the land.
Gypsies can.
And it's been going on for 100 years. So it's not like a tribe of people hanging out back there undiscovered.
Breaking our heart.
Basically, no one knows what it is.
Just say it, bro.
This really excited Andrew, though. This is his whole life. It's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Is solve these problems. So he puts together a small team of volunteers.
Oof.
He pays them a generous amount, and he declares that tomorrow we're going to set out and solve this mystery once and for all.
Well, they're not volunteers then, if he's paying
They're
them.
paid volunteers.
They're paid volunteers, yeah. So Andrew and his team, they set out by boat in the swamp.
Smart man.
And he notices almost immediately how difficult it is to even paddle.
Tugboat, rowboat, or blue boat.
Blue boat, right. The consistency of the water is incredibly thick and marshy, but he also realized that the majority of the water is actually mineral springs. It's sulfuric.
Oh, stinky.
So it smells awful. Some parts are really hot temperature-wise, and it's definitely not drinkable. And so they can barely paddle through this water.
And it is deteriorating the boat.
Yeah, right. So this is untouched, uncharted land. And after a hard day's travel, Andrew and his team had covered less than a mile.
Wow, what?
So there were a couple dry spots that were basically covered in palmetto bushes and large snakes. So even when they were on land, they're pulling boats behind them, using a machete to clear a path and kill snakes. But the snakes, they weren't just beneath them in the brush, they were also above them in the trees.
Oh,
Nope.
nope, I'm out.
So after about a week's journey, Andrew began to discover large chunks of rocks and minerals that appeared to have been scorched by flames. So these rocks are kind of out of place, broken up, and they've been burnt to a crisp.
Fireworks.
Right?
Yep.
So he collected samples, but at the behest of his team and his own health, Andrew decided they couldn't go any further.
Yeah.
Stop putting rocks in the boat. You're making this hard.
Right. He was convinced, however, that he knew the source of the smoke. And so after another week traveling back to mainland through the swamp,
Goodness.
Andrew Barber presented his findings and his final theory.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Fire-breathing snakes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Fire-breathing anaconda.
Yep.
Andrew believed there was an active volcano in the middle of the swamp in northern Florida.
Okay.
We've never heard of this?
It's a tectonic plate meet under
I
Florida?
don't think so.
So some normal-minded folks like believed it. They're like, hey, we're on board with that. While like, the other people were kind of like, nah, we think it's supernatural. Like we're not really buying this as something else or whatever.
I'd go more supernatural than volcano.
But he had the evidence of the mineral springs, the random high temperatures in the water, and then the rocks that have been charred. So although Andrew believed 100% it was a volcano, he still wanted to see it for himself. He wasn't happy with this first expedition. And so he set a date about a month away. He needed to raise money to hire a new team, but he also needed
Everybody else was dead.
They didn't want to go back. They literally were like, we're done.
Yeah,
like that's all you get from us.
Monster.
Yeah.
And so he also needed to rest and get healthier. But Mother Nature had other plans.
Uh-oh.
On August 31st, 1886, before Andrew could lead a second expedition, a massive earthquake hit Charleston, South Carolina, sending tremors all throughout the state of Florida.
Oh.
The next morning, when Andrew and the locals went outside to survey the damage, the smoke was gone.
Okay.
What?
So
Tremor's one of my favorite movies.
For the first time in over 100 years, the smoke doesn't show up anymore after an earthquake.
The smoke is afraid of tremors.
Yeah.
It could be. So basically, Andrew never went back into the swamp. Like he was so bummed out and discouraged by this. He packed up his stuff, went back to Tallahassee, and officially retired.
It doesn't mean the volcano's not there.
No.
I think for him, it was one of those things where like, in his heart, he believed it was a volcano, but he knew
wanted
he
that
would
glory.
never get solid proof.
And how do I bring a cup of lava back?
Yeah.
Yeah, he never recovered. And actually, his last written statement about the issue was, "It's just god awful, really bad luck."
Okay.
So
I guess so.
word spread pretty quickly. The scientific community said that there could have been, boiling springs or geysers, but they did not believe it was an active volcano. Pretty much everybody else believes it was a volcano. A decade later, a team from the New York Herald decided to launch their own expedition and investigate. They lasted approximately 70 hours.
Jeez.
One of the guides broke his neck falling out of a tree.
What?
And
What's
one
he
of
doing
the
in a tree?
Yeah, supposed to be in the boat.
he was trying to see how far they were away from, like, I guess, the site, and he fell out.
If
But
your guides can't climb a tree, then they're
Right.
not good guides.
well, one of the reporters got an unexplained fever and died before they get back
Jeez.
to land. So to this day, the Wakissa Swamp in Wakulla County is still virtually untouched. The land's the same as it was back then.
Challenge accepted.
While most people disagree on the origins of the smoke, one thing is for certain: after the earthquake, it was never seen again. So that's kind of like where it stands right now. If you ask around to locals, they believe there was at some point in time a volcano out there. There's just scientifically, there's no evidence around it to kind of like go, oh yeah, that's volcanic land.
Well,
But
surely we can get to the area, but there's no way to know where the area is now, right?
right,
Because
yeah,
the smoke's gone?
it was never documented, like physically, and so all you have are these journals from Seminole Indians and from locals in 1886.
Follow the smoke.
Well, what's crazy is they all line up, like hundreds of years of people from different generations. Their reasoning behind the smoke changed, but all of their descriptions, everything lines up from what
Wow.
they were seeing. And until he passed away, like Andrew was for certain that it was a volcano.
Geez.
So
it could have been just some guy with a bad cigarette habit.
Yeah.
just nonstop,
Just
Chain smoker?
nonstop.
a hermit living out there by
He'd
himself.
roll his own cigarettes and
Could have been Trapper Nelson out there toking away.
puff
There
away.
it is.
Could have been. So it's been a fun week.
Wow. I was hoping you'd bring more volcano facts. Like, is it possible to have a volcano?
In
Yes.
Florida?
Okay, good. That's all I need
That's
to hear.
all we need.
Yeah. It's possible it's a volcano. It's possible I won a wrestling match between you guys.
That's not
That's-
possible.
no,
it's
show us your belt.
100% possible. I did.
You're wearing elastic pants. That's your belly button.
Okay, sorry. I misunderstood. Well, it's been a great week. We love you guys. Check us out at fmofm.com. And if you want to follow us on social media, it's FMOFM Podcast across all the platforms.
Hold on, guys. I know where a volcano is in Florida.
Where's that?
Tell us.
In Orlando, Volcano Bay.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
new
Universal?
sponsor, Universal Studios.
We can actually play putt-putt golf there.
Nice.
Just tell them Florida Man on Florida Man sent you.
Yep.
Make
Somebody needs to talk to what's his name and say, look, the volcano's real,
We
bro.
found it,
That's
bro.
right.
You can slide down it.
157 years later, we found it.
You're welcome, bro. Solved.
We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.